Good evening and welcome to the BCS Women in IT event at Oxford Brookes University. My name's Sam Camperis. I'm the Widening Participation Coordinator for the School of Engineering, Computing and Maths, and a proud member of the BCS. Very, very excited to have a range of speakers physically in person and coming in from around the world internationally on Zoom for this hybrid meeting that's both in person and online. So welcome to those of you joining us on Zoom right now. We are at Oxford Brookes University. The first speaker tonight, Dr. Arantxa Aldea, will be telling us a bit about Oxford Brookes University and the courses that we have here. You will also see throughout the evening talks from David Shepherd of Hays Recruitment, and then various other talks that will be introduced by our organizer this evening, Ginus. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Arantxa Aldea, Programme Lead for Postgraduate Computing at Oxford Brookes University.
Thank you, Sam. And welcome everybody to Brookes. And well, some of you are already know Oxford Brookes because it's one of our students. But those of you that are online, welcome as well to Oxford Brookes University. So Sam told me, well, this is a BCS meeting, and then it's about women and women in IT. And one of the themes here is career change. So how some women actually are working in some kind of jobs, or they decided to stop, probably because you have children, or you start working part-time, and then you decide to go back and return to work, or maybe you want to change things. So what I'm going to present to you is a possibility that is actually just do some kind of a master in IT. And then obviously, I'm in Brookes, I'm the program lead for postgraduate Brookes, so I'm going to show you some of our programs and what is to be a student with us at Oxford Brookes. Obviously, you can look around and look at another type of universities, but I hope that some of you will decide to come with us. So my talk today is going to be a little bit about studying a postgraduate program in IT. And then obviously I'm going to show you what we can offer you at Oxford Brookes. And then also I'm going to give you a little bit of a story of some of our alumni. Most of them are ladies that decided to do our master and what they are doing at the moment, okay? And well, if there is any questions, then you can ask any question if you want. So, well, as I said, the theme looks like it's a career break or starting again. Look for a job, or how women can actually progress into IT, okay? And some people, and that is what my experience in being teaching postgraduate level and undergraduate level and foundation level for several years, is many women come to us, just mature students. They have already done a degree, maybe a degree in social science, in biology, in pharmacology, and then they decided they stop, or they are in a job that they are not very keen on, and then decided to change or to return back to work. Even people with a degree in computer science that has to stop for any reasons, and then obviously this computing is something that changed so dramatically for years. If you stop for 10 years, then it's quite difficult to go back because things have changed a lot. So a master is an opportunity for you to return back to work, to study that, and then see what you can actually do after that. And all our students do a postgraduate job, a course, and then they are looking in the future what they are going to do after that. So what type of women we have in PG courses? Okay, we have young ladies that finish the degree. Some of them actually finish the degree and they think that they are not ready to start working. So then they do a postgraduate courses after that to feel more consolidated in their knowledge, okay? We have very much international students, okay? All our postgraduate courses are almost 90% international students. Obviously, and that happens in undergraduate to postgraduate level, majority of the students are male. There are not so many female students. But in our postgraduate ones, actually the percentage is much higher in women than in undergraduate. Some of our postgraduate students are young ladies, finished computer science or IT courses, and then decided to go back, continue studying with a postgraduate one. We also have women that stop to work, stop for several years, most of them because they have children or they have some family commitment. And then after that, they decide, okay, I want to go back to work. And then I don't feel confident to start working. So I'm going to step with some kind of a master. We also have quite a lot of students that are ladies that are actually working. Most of them are working in some kind of administrative type of jobs, and they are not very happy with their jobs. And they decided, okay, maybe I do something in IT, and then I can change jobs. And we will see some examples of that. And another one that is just some sort of career development. We have several women that are working and then doing the master part-time, okay? So there is actually quite a lot of possibilities with master students. And I think that the master is a good way to start thinking of going back to work or change careers. So that will actually allow you to study the subject, identify whether you like it or not, and then decide to look for a job in that area, okay? So in Brookes, we have a portfolio of master programs, and some of them we call it a specialized one, in which you are specializing in a subject. So we have cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, advanced computer science, and data science, okay? So the three first one is usually for people that already have a degree in computer science, and then they want to specialize in cyber or in artificial intelligence, or they want to deep the knowledge into much more advanced computer science. Data science, open to people with a scientific type of degree, and it's open to a lot of students from all different backgrounds, and it is actually very popular. And we have quite a lot of women doing data science. And then finally, we have computing science, and this is for the people that don't have a degree at all in computer science. We have students that have done a degree in psychology, sociology, history, engineering, biology, pharmaceutical, and then decided to change completely the career because they cannot find the right job for them, but they actually they like IT, so then decide to computing science. And again, we have quite a lot of ladies in that one. I have the one for female students. And so I think that is basically because these are the ones that are open to other degrees, okay? It's not specialized in computing science. So why Oxford Brookes? Well, obviously, we are in Oxford, and I think that the people that are here, probably you live in Oxford, so this is a university that you have here, and then you can stay at home and then study with us, okay? You are lucky because we are building, I don't know whether some of you have parked in Headington Hill, so there are 2 new buildings that are being built there that they are going to be the buildings for engineering and computer science. So from September 2024, we will be in the new building. And I think that it will be quite a good thing for all our students, because instead of going to Whitley, everybody will be here in Headington, and very close to the city center. We also have quite a lot of labs, okay? So we have cyber security labs. So for people that are doing cybersecurity, we have a network, a local network for these students. And then obviously we don't want the students to hack the university server. So they are actually working in an isolated space to do the cybersecurity modules. We have robots there, okay? And I don't know why my other photo is not here. So we also have a virtual reality cave. That is actually one of our main things on campus. So we have a room with 3 big screens. You get some kind of goggles, and then you can actually immerse yourself in the 3D virtual reality. At the moment, we only use that for research, but we want to embed that into our teaching as well. It's here. So the good thing about Oxford Brookes is that it's a teaching university. Okay? Obviously, we have the one down the hill that is a more research-oriented university. Brookes is a teaching university, and it's very much based on practical work. And also we talk quite a lot with our industry. So we have meetings with our industry every semester, and then we propose changes in our curriculum, and the university give us some feedback about what is needed at the moment, okay? So that will actually allow us to update our curriculum. At the moment, we are updating our curriculum for next academic year, so we are doing quite a lot of changes in our master's programs, okay? And it is very supportive and welcoming. Some of our students are here, so hopefully they can actually agree with me that we try to be very informal, very practical. So all our lectures are very much focused on how you apply the theory into real case studies, okay? Obviously, our master students, what they want as well is guidance and advice about how to look for a job, how to get career advice as well. And this is quite much embedded in our postgraduate courses. So we have a person dedicated to find possible jobs offers, and then you have ways to actually communicate with the students to tell them, okay, there is all these companies that are looking for a job, give you advice about your CV, but also we have tech fair. So last week we have a fair in Whitley, where I think around 30 companies came to Whitley, and then sent some of the graduate training programs and some of this job prospect that they have there. So we have quite a lot of contact with the career advice to give you advice about how you can actually go from our master into job prospect. Okay. Another important part that I think that is quite useful for everybody is that the university is very much keen on enterprise. So there is a university enterprise hub in which you will have access to workshops and possible clients that will help you if you have an idea you want to create your own business. Okay, so we have what is called the Ice Cube. So it is a place dedicated for people that want to create their own business. So you will have a space that can be your office here, and then also people that will give you guidelines and help you and teach you about how you can go from your idea into your business. Okay? And this is quite much embedded in the curriculum as well. One of our lecturers is the person in charge of that and will help students that want to create their own business. Okay? So there are workshops and events and during the whole year for the whole university and undergraduate and postgraduate students. And finally, we have formula students. So this is again one of the quite important part of Brookes. We have a very famous and popular Formula One racing team. Okay, that was actually developed by the engineers, and they are very famous and competitive, and they have won quite a lot of international prizes. So the engineers develop their own car and then put it into competition, international competition. But in addition to that, we have the autonomous vehicles racing team. And that one was created like 2 or 3 years ago. And again, it's going to that different competition, has won a lot of prizes as well. And this is where computing met engineers. So the engineers are the ones that will develop the car, but then the computer science and data analytics students, what they are doing is doing all the software that the car will need to actually drive by itself and then go to Silverstone for some kind of competition. And last year, it was quite a lot of prizes as well. So what our students love most about the courses is that it's very practical. So we actually give you a lot of case studies, a lot of coursework to do. So you don't need to know quite a lot of mathematics and theory. So we will try to make your modules as practical as possible. But also it is embedded into research. Okay, so some of the coursework that you will see, some of the practical exercises come from the research that our staff is doing, okay? And then you also have the opportunity to do your dissertation with a research group and then do something that can actually get a paper out of it. So there are quite a lot of opportunities, but it's up to the students to look for this opportunity. Okay, okay, so what I have told you a little bit about being a student at Brookes. I'm going to talk a little bit about the programs, okay? So the master, and I suppose all of you will know that, consists of 1 full year, okay? So we start in September and we finish at the end of the next September. And it is quite compact. And many of our students that have not been studying for a while, or they are working, they decided to do this program into part-time, okay? So then instead of doing it in 1 year, you do it in 2 years. But the master itself can be finished in 1 year. This is quite different to what happened in other countries in which the majority of the countries, masters at this level are in 2 years. But in Britain, we will do it in 1 year. So there are 2 semesters, semester 1 and semester 2, which we have taught modules. Semester 1 usually is the one in which we will see more or less the fundamentals. And in semester 2, we'll try to make the applications done in semester 2. And then finally in summer is where you do your dissertation. So dissertation will start in March or in April and then finish at the end of September. And the majority of the modules are going to be assessed by case studies, coursework, quizzes, class tests, and reports, okay? You may have 1 or 2 exams, but the majority of the modules will be assessed by assignments. Okay, so let's see the different ones that we have. So the first one is advanced computer science. This one is for people with a degree in computer science, and for the women that we usually have in that one are people that has just finished the degree, and then they, as I said, they are not ready to start working yet, and then decided that they need an extra year to consolidate the concept. And in this one, you will see different subjects, okay? So for instance, a little bit of cybersecurity, machine learning, cloud computing, things that you may not have seen at the graduate level. We also have people here that maybe they haven't worked for a while, they have a computing degree, but then again, they are not ready to start working because they want to actually understand these new current trends that happens now. Okay? All our programs are accredited by BCS. And after this program, usually most of the students will find a job and work as a software developer. Then we have computer science for cybersecurity. So this is our cybersecurity program, and that one is mainly focused on software to develop software that is safe. Okay, so it is fully certified by the National Cybersecurity Center, and it is based on, obviously, you will learn about networking, security, but also secure programming. So it is very much focused on technical part of cybersecurity, not so much about regulation and legislation. Okay? And again, most of our students will find a job because this is one of the areas that companies are looking for people with an expertise. Artificial intelligence, again, is one of the top areas. And what we do in artificial intelligence is to apply artificial intelligence into engineering, and to create intelligent systems. So you will see quite modules on robotics, machine learning, and obviously some of the theoretical concepts, but we will try to avoid the logic and algebra related to artificial intelligence, and are looking more into how you apply artificial intelligence to develop some kind of intelligent system. Okay? And again, it has quite a big career prospect. And finally, we have the two ones in which is open to any type of degree. So we have computing science, and this is ideal for people that want to change careers. And we have, it's quite popular. So we will learn to program, okay? So many people will arrive here with no knowledge about coding. So then we will start by learning to code. And then we will learn things like computer architecture, web applications, and agile methodology, and so on, okay? So then it is actually one in which students will learn a little bit about data science as well, different topics that are very much current trend in computing science. And they found, our students found this very useful, and they have allowed them to change their careers. And finally, we have data science. So this one was developed in collaboration with the Office for National Statistics. It actually started because the Office for National Statistics want a university that helped their own employees to actually upskill their. And then they came to us, and then we developed the program together. So we have had quite a lot of students from ONS and some civil servants that come to us and then did the data science master with us. And then it is quite good for people, again, that are working with data. And we have quite a lot of people like that are actually working with data, and they want to understand how they can develop this type of dashboard and this type of tools that they are actually using at the moment, okay? And it is very much linked with research, and some students, what they do is bring their own problems that they can find in industry and in the companies, and use that as a dissertation topic. Okay, so I'm going to talk now, to finish, I'm going to talk a little bit about our alumni. So I just put here an example of students that were working with, were studying with us, and what are they doing at the moment, okay? So for instance, we have here Teresa. Teresa, she actually she was an administrator. She was a student in the States. I think that she did some kind of a major in English literature or something like that, and came here with her partner, and then decided to do a master in data science. And she was an administrator, she was working with charities, and then now she's back in the States, and project manager in some kind of a industrial estate or something. Then we have Sarah. Sarah was actually was one of our administrators. So she worked with us for several years, and she was one of our senior administrators at Brookes. And then 2 or 3 years ago, she decided to do a career break, did a master in computing science, and now she's working for ONS as a software developer. So she changed her career completely. She was here actually with a very good position as a senior administrator, but she was fed up of working in that area and decided, okay, I want to change my life. And now she's a software developer and she's quite happy with that. Okay? So these two, I put them there even that they are not women. They were actually my PhD students. Came from Nepal. He did a master in computer science. He was a biologist in Nepal, did a master in computer science, got a scholarship for doing a PhD, and now is a senior semantic developer in London. And Adalo works, he was actually from Nigeria. He did engineering over there, did a computing science degree with us, PhD, and now is working as a data solution architecture. So you can see that most of these people actually change the career completely. And then the way that they change it is by doing some kind of a master in IT, okay? And then we have Teresa and Yumi, that again, these are the ones that did our master like 2 years ago. And again, they have changed their career. Well, Teresa is still teaching, will be teaching for a while. And then Yumi was an engineer and then decided now to work as a quality assurance engineer. Okay? So you can actually see how a master can help you to maybe go back to work or change your career or just a skill, okay? Obviously, I want you to study with us, but a master could be something that it could actually help any women to go back to work or to start working as in IT, okay? So that is everything for me. Any questions or anything that you want to raise? But you have a question. Yeah, so for instance, so she's talking about whether you can create a dissertation related to real work projects. And yes, if the people that work with us, they work in ONS and did the master in data science with us, most of them actually came with some kind of a problem that they have at work. And the main issue is that you have to talk with the module leader, the one that is dealing with the dissertations, and then propose the dissertation. And if there is some kind of a research involved that you can do with that project, then it finds it can actually be your dissertation. And most of the students that actually come from the civil servants or from MOD, for instance, there were people from the MOD doing the dissertation with us. We have to sign some kind of ethical approval and all this, because obviously some of the data cannot be published, but then the dissertation was related to their company.
Do you have questions in the room?
Yes.
Please.
Mm-hmm. Well, once you finish your master, you can at Brookes. Every department usually have 1 or 2 scholarships, okay? And then these scholarships are related to some topics. So if one of the lecturers that are working in cybersecurity put a topic on cybersecurity, you can apply for that. But there are PhD open in all around UK, so you have to look for that. Okay, so there will be job application. Also, you can sponsor yourself as well and do a PhD. But basically, when you want to do a PhD, you have to have a proposal and then having a supervisor team that will go work with you. But we can talk about that later.
In case it wasn't picked up or realised from context, the question was, what would the route through from MSc into PhD be for current postgraduate talk students? And then we do have one question already in the Zoom webinar, and others online are welcome to join and ask more questions of Arantxa right now. So the first one there is, are Lee's advanced MSc programs full-time only, or do you have part-time options for working professionals too?
Yes, all of them has possibility of part-time, okay? Most of the people that are actually doing the master part-time are people that are working. So then you will have the opportunity to do the part-time, and you have up to 5 years to complete it. So people doing part-time usually do it in 2 or 3 years. Okay, so any more questions?
Any more from the room?
Okay. Yes. This is actually what.
So the question for the benefits of the Zoom participants was, does the course in AI have some coverage of ethics in AI as well? That was the question in the room.
Actually, at the moment, there is no module on ethics of AI, but we are developing changes in the program. And we are creating one in which it's going to be called Principles of AI, and we incorporate social impacts and ethics of AI as well, because I think that this is something very important at the moment.
Yeah, and of course, one of our researchers in ethics and AI, Professor Nigel Crook, who is Associate Dean here, will also be the speaker at the Oxfordshire branch talk in December as well. So he's an active researcher in this area, who is one of our staff at the university. We've had another question come in online, so thank you for that. So this is another question for Arantxa from Bryony. If someone only had working experience and no degree or relevant higher education qualification, where would you recommend they start before going into BSc or Masters?
Well, that depends on the type of experience, and I probably will recommend you to start with a bachelor degree. We have people that don't have a bachelor qualification, but they have a HND or something similar, so they can start with the final year of the BSc and then do a 1 year level 6 type of degree, and then complete a BSc in computing. Okay, so some of our students here are doing the final year. So that is dependent, and that will go through admissions, and then and we have students that they have the experience and some kind of a high education diploma, and then they have gone through the final year to get an honors degree.
Any more questions from the room? No? No more questions in the chat. Obviously, we'll keep an eye, and if there are further questions, we can pick them up at the end, either written or by email. So if that's everything for Arantxa, let's just thank her once more. Thank you, Arantxa.
Okay, thank you.
So now it's Philip to come up and introduce the next speaker. And I'm just going to pause the recording for one moment.
Thank you so much for taking the stand on the first. I'm really pleased.
Guinness, I think you'll need to get closer to the microphone.
So this is the second one we've actually done for women in IT. And I'm really excited to have these events, and I'm hoping they'll just grow and grow, and we can do more of them. And we do need more women in IT. I work in IT, and I think we need more kind of encouragement. We need to, there's a broad spectrum of careers that are available for women. But without further ado, I just wanted to introduce David Shepherd. He's from Hays Recruitment. I really wanted to, and we as a committee wanted to have a session on CV, how we can make a CV oriented towards IT in general. And David is going to help me with that. And there is a possibility, if you do have CVs, for David to have a look at them potentially. We don't know how we're going to blend that, but we do our best if you that. But the whole idea is for you to see that you can, if you're coming from a different background, say engineering or say any other background, how you those skills, apply them to an IT environment and get a post in IT. This is not having to do a course as such, although I think it is really, the courses you've got is amazing. It's exciting. So I think it is very good that we're able to have an expert who can tell us about these things. Because I think often we write our CVs and I include everything in there. And David's been and helping me out here. So could you come up, David, for me? And if you could clap for him, that would be amazing.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having us. As Junie very kindly said, my name's David Shepherd. I work with Hays Recruitment. I head up the technology team along with my colleague Alex Dando, and I've also got Beth Woodrees here, diversity and inclusion lead for our Oxford office, which obviously I felt was prevalent for today's talk. So getting underway and giving an idea of what we have got. But there we go, we got there. So a little bit of an agenda of what we're going to be rattling through. So although we are going to absolutely be talking about some really key points to build an effective CV, I want to take the opportunity to actually give some more practical, real life advice on how to secure a job in technology. So we're definitely going to factor in CV writing, but we're also going to talk about other stages of that process as well. Okay, so we're going to do a little piece on just recognizing what the technology workforce of tomorrow looks like, and that is you, right? We're going to talk a little bit about building your career profile, which is going to be around the CV. We're going to talk about bold applications, what you should or shouldn't be applying for, giving the best account of yourself, which is going to be related to that interview stage, and then also including some real life success stories or jumping into some Q&A. Okay.
Hello, everyone. So we're going to start with just painting a bit of a picture of the current landscape of the recruitment market. So myself, Alex and David, we see stuff like this each day, but I thought it was just worth us starting with a bit of a picture painting of what's going on at the moment in recruitment. So we take these big yearly surveys. We survey around 20,000 employers in the UK to get this data. And last year, our survey showed us that over 9 in 10 employers are struggling to recruit because of skills shortages. We also see that nearly 3/4 of these organisations expect to still continue recruiting in the next 12 months. They're already struggling with the vacancies that they're trying to fill, and there's more that is coming. We heard earlier on about AI being one of the courses at Brookes that is certainly in that specialist world. And we have seen from our survey that nearly 90% of employers are looking to invest in AI in the next 12 months. And if we focus just more on the workforce around technology, we know that currently in the UK, over 1.5 million people occupy a position within the technology field. And around 8% of these are over the age of 55. We're also aware that it's been forecasted to see over 500,000 new vacancies that will appear by 2025 in technology. And we're sat here today at the very end of 2023. That is not very long before we're going to be seeing a huge amount of new roles appearing in this sector. Now, some of these will feature in the above stats, but it's also worth noting that a lot of the predictions for technology is that these positions that we're going to be recruiting in the next 12 months could be brand new things that we haven't yet recruited for, or skills and job titles that don't exist today. So we're going to look at the female representation within that workforce at the moment. So we have taken some stats here that show GCSE level. Okay, so out of all of students that took a GCSE in the last academic year in a technology subject, the representation of young females that have taken up those courses is over just 21%. We also have these stats here that we were looking at that have come from the University of Bath, which on the left-hand side shows you each region and the uptake from GCSE students in computer science. You'll see Oxfordshire is highlighted quite far down on this list at just 885 students that took a GCSE in computer science last year. And the female representation is incredibly low within that. But what we do see on the right-hand side of the screen is some of the performance metrics that were quite impressive. And actually the yellow line indicates those female students, 41% of them getting a 7 or above in their GCSE, compared to 32% of male students who had secured those higher grades. So whilst the minority is absolutely there, the performance of these young females that took that GCSE is very good. And just to finish off, we've got the stat here again from education at GCSE level. If we just explore it into higher education, and we heard just a moment ago around the lack of representation on some of those IT courses with females taking the course. Across the UK, female representation at higher education is at 18%. So it probably won't shock you to then think how that transitions into the workplace, where we see just 26% of our UK technology workforce is female talent at the moment. And if we just take you back to that original number of 1.5 million people making up the technology workforce, to see just 500,000 currently being taken, currently making up the female representation, it for us seems quite low. And that's why I think events like this evening are so important to highlight the opportunity for women who are coming into the workplace or have a passion to have a career in technology, that we have a lot of work to do to get that balance a bit more fair. I'm going to hand over to David now, who's going to talk through some of the more practical tips for job seekers in the technology space.
Thanks, Beth. Helpful to set the scene and know what we're working with. So jumping into CV, building a career profile probably is what I'd like to think of it as. The kind of premise of what I want to particularly look at within CV writing, and we can send up further resources if you want more intricate details on how to build a CV. What I really want to hit home is self-promotion. Okay? The reason I want to hammer that point home is because a lot of research that shows, on the whole, women aren't as confident or as bold to self-promote men, right? And there was a really, really interesting study that actually took a group of individuals, asked them to do a test, and they took a smaller group within that who actually scored the same results. Right, and they basically kind of reviewed these results and asked those individuals to do a self-evaluation. Right, what was really interesting is that the women within that who performed the self-evaluation promoted themselves 25% less than men, even when they were told that it would have ramifications on potential hiring possibility and what they would be paid. Okay? So that's the context as to why I want to hit home this point so much, okay? And hopefully give people on this call, on this meeting, more confidence to really self-promote. And the CV is the perfect vehicle to do that, and a really important vehicle to do that if you are to hopefully gain that opportunity to progress in the process and secure the interview. So what's the best way to self-promote? For me, it's the achievement section. Okay, all the other sections are really, really important, but what I see is missed the most. From a recruitment point of view, and what I'm constantly talking to hiring managers about, what I'm trying to really advocate and push is the achievements list piece. The reason it's so important for me is because it highlights and conveys so much about the person beyond what the content of their qualifications and even their experience does in some instances. It tells you about their ambition, their drive, resilience, their pride. All manner of things is conveyed through. Okay? And the beauty of them is actually as great as it is to have achievements that are relevant to what you're wanting to do from a career point of view, actually achievements that are not related are equally as powerful, right? So if people looking to make a move into a job that they're otherwise maybe lacking the technical experience, it's a brilliant thing to help. Okay. Other things to touch on while we're just talking about CVs is the two-page CV myth. Okay, it is absolutely a myth. I think it's a great guideline. Okay, because it's really easy to get a little bit whimsical with CV and maybe include things that actually aren't all that important. However, if you're there putting a hard stop in at 2 pages and there's information outstanding that could be the difference between you securing an interview for that job, not, for me, it's an absolute no. You need to move on to 3 pages. Fine, right? If you've got enough to say that's valuable, go on to 4. It's okay, right? If you're moving on to 5, I think we probably don't need to be talking about self-promotion as much because that person probably doesn't have such a problem. But I think, you know, moving beyond 2 pages is okay as long as the content is relevant and it's going to help you. Okay. The final piece I want to talk about that I do see quite a lot of is including profile pictures, right, on a CV, okay, which for me is a little bit of an odd one. Okay. The reason I think it's a bit of an odd one is because what you look like does not have any indication or correlation with how qualified or how good you're going to be at doing a job. Okay. I don't know any hiring manager who looks at a photo of someone and goes, they look like a cloud engineer. Right, that's not a thing, okay? And just to be clear, if they do think that, you probably don't want to work for them, right? So for me, don't give an opportunity for there to be any form of discrimination. The words, the content, the experience, and the achievements. Big submit applications, okay? So assuming that the CV's there, it's good to go, you're happy, you start to get stuck into where you're going to send your CV, right? For me, this is a really exciting part, okay? And something that I want to talk about here is, again, we talked about self-promotion from a CV building point of view. I want to talk a little bit now about confidence and being bold with what we apply for, okay? On average, women apply for 20% fewer jobs, which basically means that women are talking themselves out of a job before they've even put their hand up for it. Okay, and that would support the kind of the general stat that's thrown around, right? That is, and there is research to back it up, that says that women on the whole will only apply for jobs that they're 100%. That for me is staggering. Okay, from a recruiter point of view, I actually sometimes would say that I'm a bit nervous or cautious about progressing certain profiles are 100% qualified for a job. I've got question marks of, is it going to be stimulating enough? Is there going to be enough longevity? Is it going to give them the progression they're looking for, right? And it's the same for the client, right? There are a lot of hiring managers who are wanting all of those things. They're wanting to nurture and mold someone into a job so that they can organically progress themselves within a business and hopefully apply to more senior posts within an organization. So for me, that's a really important part. But then the question is, if we're applying to more things, right, and we're not going by the rule of thumb that you don't have to be 100% qualified to apply, how do we know what we should and shouldn't be? The reality is, you won't always, okay, and that's fine, okay. But a few guides, right, a few guidelines to help you on that search to make sure that you're in the right ballpark. For me, is around making sure you know what you're looking for. Okay? Making sure there is some sort of transferable skill set that you can pull on to help create and build a case. Engage for the next step in the process. Okay, for me, goodness me, I'd also look at other aspects around the practicality of it, right? Location, right? Work from home, right? What support you need on that front. Remuneration, does it meet those needs? Right? These are all helpful things that you should be bearing in mind when thinking about, is this the job I should be looking for? Right? Does it offer the progression aspirations that you're looking for? Equally, if you're not an aspiring leader in the world, right? Does it offer the level of familiarity and comfort that you're looking for? Make sure it's ticking your box. These for me are all the things I really suggest and advocate you to consider when you're thinking about it. But look, the moral of the story is it's okay to be a little bit uncertain about it, and it's okay also to not be 100% qualified on the basis that you miss 100% of the shots. But don't be a part of that group who are talking themselves out before they've even given. And the final thing I wanted to talk about was just around the interview, right? So assuming the application's been well received, now moving into the interview, you've been requested for interview, this is the really, really exciting part, right? And with that, it's really important for me that I think we start talking about how different women are from men. And there is a real scientific wiring in women that is substantially different to men. Okay? For example, women actually have more blood going to their prefrontal lobes than men do. That means that women's brains are better than men for a number of things. It's probably not a surprise for you, right? You probably know this already. I'm going to tell you anyway, right? Those areas that is really common that we see that's relevant for me from an interview is preparation. Like women typically are not. The other thing also is that typically they're more engaging, right? And thirdly, typically women are more inquisitive than men, right? So what I suggest we do here is I suggest that we play to our strengths and not reinvent the wheel, right? So let's talk a little bit about our preparation, okay? So there are many aspects that we can talk about from a preparation point of view, but a few tips and tricks that have served me well, and something that's always been well received from various candidates that we've supported throughout the thousands of processes that we've run over the years, is around utilizing LinkedIn. So I'd really suggest jump on LinkedIn, find out who you're talking to, right? Look at their profile, put a face to the name, remove that fear factor of who is it that I'm talking to? Are they scary? Are they daunting? No, they're not. They're just, and they're going to be really interesting, and they could well open up a really exciting. Okay. The other thing as well is not only can you establish some common ground potentially by looking at their own career journey, right? But actually they can see that you. Now, some people see this as a bit of a negative, or a bit embarrassing. I wouldn't want them to possibly think that. For me, it's the biggest, right? It's a brilliant way to win some brownie points from the person who's going to be interviewing, or you even get the interview underway because they can see that you are preparing yourself, you're taking the process and the interview seriously, and you're taking their time seriously. Brilliant way to get off on the right foot and hopefully continue that positive theme throughout the course of the interview. Okay. Other things you can look at is making sure you're carving out some time to actually take your CV, take the job description, make sure you're doing some annotation, draw some immediate parallels to make sure you're not having to think about constantly where your transferable skills or immediate skills are going to be relevant. That's really, really hard work. Make things a little bit easier for yourself by already having those connections. Okay? And a final bit, which is a bit more kind of real world practical stuff, is we are still trying to familiarize ourselves with how we do this, right? And for people here virtual, right, I'm getting a little bit of insight into it now, okay, which is how do we engage and connect with people when we are not present physically together? So if we're doing a virtual interview, make sure you've got your setup down. Okay? Make sure that you got the audio checked. Make sure that the link works and that whatever platform they're using is one that your laptop or computer, whatever device you're using, will support, right? Make sure you know that you're looking at the camera and not at your screen. Otherwise, it may look like they're looking at the side of your face the whole time. That's not particularly. All these sorts of test run exercises are really important to make sure you give the best account of yourself. Okay? On the other side of things, if it's an opportunity for an in-person meeting, right, which I'd always advocate, right, it's about making sure you've done a recce of the room, right? This feels old school, but I think we can easily get out of practice with this sort of stuff because it's probably been a while for some people that have had to do an in-person meeting. The other thing as well is dress code, right? Where we're in kind of virtual meetings, and dress code is a little bit more of a grey area, right? And the expectation to be interview attire, let's say, is maybe not as in question as much as it, right? It's really important that when you're there in person, get clarity to understand what the appropriate dress is, so that you don't feel under or overdressed, right? So engage is the next. 80% of all communication non-verbal, right? That means we're relying on body language, eye contact, smiling, how we use our hands, all manner of things, shoulders back, how we can convey and project our voice. All of these things account for a huge amount of importance when we are in the midst of an interview. So I'd really, really hammer home the importance of all of those things, right? Active listening, right? Nodding, it's a brilliant thing to do. It's a really important thing to do, right? Because of that connection loss you lose, particularly in a virtual meeting, right? And also as well, I'd reference some of the information they've given you to demonstrate that you're present. Okay? And then moving on to that, rapport building is a really important part. Now, if you're doing all of those things already, right, your rapport will be well underway already. A few more things you can do to help drive that is making sure that you really have established that. And following on from that as well, I'd also talk about doing some repeat. And that's really simple. That's basically saying that if they use a particular phrase or terminology, find a way to build that into some of your answers and some of your engagement. It basically forms a bit of a psyche around some sort of social. Right? If you're using and sharing the same language, it's normally a really, really good sign, and it does help bolster some of that. Questioning, okay? A lot of leaders and senior people in businesses might like the sound of, and this is a brilliant opportunity, right, to give them a little bit of a dopamine kick, right, and have that positive association, that positive feeling they have coming away from the call that is linked. Okay? Not only that, but it's obviously brilliant. Now, questioning is better, in my opinion, when it comes organically from the conversation, questioning that's happening throughout the so it helps continue to drive that rapport and other bits and pieces. I'd also always recommend that you have questions up your sleeve as well. Those questions, for me, really, really vary. And I'm going to start with probably a few things that I wouldn't necessarily suggest asking and would maybe hold towards the latter ends of it. I do see being thrown in at first stage sometimes, and it can really ruin someone's chance in a process because you can. That includes questions such as, what's the sick pay? Or what's the sick leave? A little bit of a red flag, you know, shock horror, right? You can also imagine the questions around using wording such as, how many days do I need to be in the office? That's not a good turn of phrase, right? We should want to be partnering and engaging with our future colleagues and it shouldn't be seen as something that's laborious. So being really careful about how you inquire about the work from home benefits and what their flexible working policy is. I think the key thing is making sure that you're asking appropriate questions, appropriate stakeholders, right? If you're speaking to a senior leader in technology, don't start asking. Equally, if you're speaking to someone from HR, don't ask them what tech stack they're rolling. Right? Those things aren't going to be well received, right? And it's not going to look like you. Okay? Some of the questions that I would talk about as a finishing point is questions that are going to put fire in the belly of the people you're talking to. For me, that's, you know, what's the culture? Why are you passionate about the culture that you're in the process of creating? Right? What's your vision? Where do you want to take things? These are things that really get leaders, hopefully, really, really excited because they're the ones driving it and they're the ones hiring for people like yourselves to continue it along its journey, right? I'd also ask about key challenges, right? Try and kind of perhaps some sort of vulnerability if helps to bring down those barriers and again helps with that rapport and relationship building, as well as you getting some true insight into what the journey of that team, what that role might look like. And a final thing I think I'd probably talk about is put real thought into what's important to you, making sure that you're coming away from that, hopefully giving the best account of yourself, also feeling like you have got everything you possibly can from that engagement, that particular stage, and as few stones are left unturned. Right?
Thanks, David. So we've spoken a little bit about the context of the market. We've spoken a little bit about some tips that will hopefully help when it comes to applying for roles, CVs and interviews. But actually what we wanted to finish with is just to give some real life examples of success stories that are already happening out there. Reality is this isn't all just stuff that we are thinking about doing. It is stuff that is already happening in practice. And actually, I think it's really important to recognise some of the great work that's happening. So I'm going to share a couple of case studies, one internally from within Hays, and the second one externally, just to demonstrate some of the great things that are happening already from a women in tech perspective in the market. So talking a little bit about Hays Skills, that's a programme of work that Hays started around about 3 years ago, which was basically around trying to utilise some of the talent in the market that for whatever reason weren't getting a look in when it came to roles. So what we effectively did was open up applications to pretty much everybody through any format. So that could be through a CV, through a video call, through leaving a telephone message, whatever it is. We basically removed all barriers, invited anyone to apply for this course. We then whittled it down to about 30 people in the first tranche that we did, with the idea of then hiring them on a fixed term contract within Hays, upskilling and training them and giving them the skills that they needed before deploying them in the world of work. That was the idea behind it. The result of this was 40% of the first tranche that we hired was female, which is actually 48% up on what the market average is when it comes to hiring for roles of that nature, which is obviously a great sentiment in itself. But I think two of the really key things that have come out of the back of it for us is, one, the excitement that's come through from the clients that we've been talking to about this. They've been really excited about the prospect of bringing these people onto work, because not only does it plug some of the skills gaps that we were speaking about earlier, but it also means that they have access to a sustainable talent pipeline that they just might not have had access to before. So it just unlocks doors and creates a different route of thinking in terms of utilising some of those skills that really are going to be needed with those 500,000 new tech vacancies that are going to come up on the market in the next year or so. And actually, this has given us great confidence that we're going to continue doing this in future tranches. So I think the appetite from within Hays for doing things like this is only going to grow, and I'm sure that representation number will remain as it is. Externally as well, Macmillan Cancer Support, an organisation I'm sure that we're all very, very familiar with. Their CIO, Dr. Roxanne Heaton, joined the organisation around about 2 years ago. At the time that she joined, female representation in the technology leadership team was at just 8%, or 1 in 12. What she's done over the course of the last 2 years is effectively bring in a quota for having female representation, both at a leadership standpoint, but also across the team. You can see the results of what's happened over the last 2 years. 50% of the tech leadership team is now female, 40% of positions across the board are held by women within the technology function. That's a great success story in itself. One of the key things that they've done to try and implement some of that, we touched on some of it before. The first key thing that she's done is to encourage people to apply for things. That is seen as the biggest blocker that she's recognised, but also colleagues of her recognise, that leaders in technology recognise as a whole. It's empowering people, giving them the courage that they can apply for it. And actually, you can see the results in itself. So I think that was the first really key point they did. They also focused a lot on retention, upskilling and training. So actually the recognition that a lot of people, and particularly female workers in the technology space, were not feeling entirely fulfilled in what they were doing for whatever reason. And rather than those people falling out of the market or taking other roles, they had a real focus on trying to make sure that they were upskilling, that they were retraining, that they were working with them to find out what it was that they really wanted to do, which massively increased their retention side and also brought through a lot of these women into these. And thirdly, it was about staying innovative and trying to be at the forefront of making sure that they were retaining the staff that they wanted to do through utilising various different data sets, analysing market trends. Are they at the forefront of what people want when they're offering roles in the market? And are they making sure that they're attracting the best talent? So through those three methods, you can see the results, but I do think that's another really, really important case study that is worthwhile thinking about. And I'd encourage you all, actually, there's a fantastic podcast that Dr. Roxanne Heaton recorded, which is about half an hour long, so shouldn't take up too much. I think is a really, really useful thing to listen to. It goes into this in a lot more detail and is a really, really powerful message. So that's what we wanted to leave you with, but we'd love to take any questions that you've got now as well. Please do fire away. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's talking at the moment, but we can only hear you on Zoom if you're talking directly at the microphone.
We were just mid question. I will repeat the question when it's been delivered. But thank you for the heads up. No, it's good. Sorry, you were saying about cover letters. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Really good question. Yeah. A really good question. And just for those on the Zoom call, so the question is basically how do you effectively manage having multiple CVs running for multiple applications, inclusive of other needs within a process, such as cover letters as well? I think it's really tough. To be really honest with you, I think it's really hard. I think it's a huge amount to balance and juggle. I think you've got to be really aware of which processes are warranting of which profile that you have for yourself, and tracking somehow which business or organization has which CV. You don't want to be finding yourself in an interview and you're there kind of referencing a CV that they don't actually have from you. That's a real nightmare. So I think the key thing is I'd like to kind of encourage probably having maybe not being too specialist with your CVs and maybe that kind of features within being a little bit more concentrated within your job search and keeping that search a little bit more narrow so there's less of a need, I suppose, to have multiple or really varied CVs. Right, I think for me, it's probably the first thing. So to keep the search a little bit more narrow, a little bit more specialist and concentrated around your skill set and experience. And equally, if you made the decision, actually you want to try and maybe kind of make a sideways step in your career, building a profile that's going to be best placed to help you do so. But I think it's what I would encourage people not to do so much is possibly spread themselves quite thin from an application point of view. And in doing so, diluting your experience and your offering to a business, I suppose would be my main advice. In reference to the cover letters, it's a tricky one. Businesses really vary from which ones want a cover letter and which ones don't. I think we'd say it's probably more common in grad schemes and also in the public sector than it perhaps is in the experienced private sector market, which is an interesting nuance. What I would say is use it as a tool to simply complement CV that you've already given and maybe kind of make it into a little bit more of a story about what your career journey has been so far. But I'd say I'd still try and reinforce to let the CV really do the talking if possible. Is that helpful? Mhm. Yeah. So it's from an employer point of view. Interesting. Okay, fine. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a really, really interesting. Yeah. Interesting. So your observation from an employer point of view, just to be clear, either way, but your observation is that actually that striking the match is the hard part. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really, really fair point about seeing the wood from the trees, I suppose, in terms of people's experience. So yeah, a really fair point. Thanks so much for that. Conscious of other questions as well in time and that sort of stuff. Yeah, of course. Brilliant. Is there another question in the room? Yeah, in the meantime, do you want to fire away? Yeah.
Yes. So for the benefit of those on the webinar, this was a question around certifications in some of the technical skills and what some of the key softer skills are for what employers are looking for. I think the short answer when it comes to the certifications is they do help. That's the reality. You know, going back to that question we were talking about just a little bit, probably most employers will only take a short amount of time to look through a CV, and actually having things like certifications is going to make you stand out, particularly if you might not tick all the boxes from an experience standpoint. Appreciate there is a cost involved within that, and it's also true that probably not all employers would absolutely need it. However, it probably would do well to just to allay some fears from an employer's standpoint that they are actually looking that they are actually able to cover off a lot of those key technical elements. And from a softer perspective as well, I think it's a lot of people are just looking for personality, for you to show that you are really you rather than trying to be somebody else. It sounds really simple, but actually I think as long as you fit with the culture that you're looking for, which actually I'd argue you should be looking for yourself as well. But I think that giving the best genuine account of yourself is always going to be the best thing that you can do.
I'm going to very quickly do Hannah's, if that's all right, or do you want to jump through? I'm conscious we can rattle through that pretty quickly. I think it's a great question, Hannah. Thanks ever so much for contributing and thinking in that way, because I do think that we all have a responsibility collectively, both for people who are in the career already, those who are in leadership positions, but those who are also looking to enter into the world of work within technology. I think we have a collective responsibility to make sure that we are being advocates ourselves for other people to get on the front foot and start upskilling themselves from the earliest point possible in their education and also in their career. So I think it's simply about being a verbal advocate and sponsor, and actually really encouraging kind of people of all ages to really find some sort of mentorship or sponsorship to help them break down some of the barriers that currently exist. And I think that's relevant for people of all ages, particularly women, I think, so that we can help kind of tackle the kind of the more positive representation we're looking for in the world of technology.
I've been involved with competing at schools, Hannah, and also doing co-clubs and things like that. So there is a lot going on, and I thought your statistics were amazing, and your advice you've given is so helpful. And I think it goes a long way in the fact that we can play this back over and over again. We can remind ourselves all the things that we can do to make that CV amazing. So thank you so much for Hays Recruitment. So lovely to, yes, you're lovely.
You just pause that for a second.
Thank you so much. Hello, Ilana. How are you doing? Yeah, I just wanted to introduce Ilana. Ilana, I'm so proud to say she's from the UN, and she's a business relationship manager, and she wants to talk about her career journey. You're based in Washington at the moment, aren't you? What time is it in Washington at the moment? Is it early morning or late afternoon?
It's 2:25 actually, yeah. PM.
Sorry, what time?
2:20 PM. So it's
2:20 PM. Lovely, lovely. And we wondered if you could share your journey as to where you are now, where you were, and the kind of aspects that helped you to get to where you are, and to inspire other women to enter the IT industry. And we are trying to, with this event, encourage women more and more to apply for IT positions, and Hays has been amazing by telling us all about CVs, and lady as Anna was talking about doing courses and masters programs. So we hope that this will complement things, and that somebody can see out there that there's actually a lot of women in high positions like yourself doing IT work. So I'm going to pass over to you. I will be sitting down at the back, and I'll come back as soon as you need me. Are you all right to start?
excellent. Thank you so much.
That's all right. That's all right.
So my audio is working fine?
Yes, everything's working great, and we can see you in big screen.
Excellent. So that's good. So good evening, everyone. And thank you very much to BCS and Oxford Brookes University for organizing this wonderful event and for giving me the privilege to share my story for young women who are contemplating a career in IT. So I'm delighted to share my life and career journey, a journey that has brought me from my home country, Madrid, Spain, to Washington, D.C. in the US, where I have settled, where I have created my family, and where I have lived for the last 12 years now. So over the course of my career, I have held various roles in different companies in several countries, and all within the dynamic field of IT, information technologies. My aim today is to share my experience, insights, and some lessons learned along the way, with the hope of empowering all of the aspiring women in IT and encouraging you all to embrace change and lifelong learning. We have talked about it earlier as a constant element in your professional journey ahead. So I have worked in IT consulting, but I have also embarked on entrepreneurial adventures. I have navigated corporate America within the banking sector. I have reinvented as an international civil servant for the United Nations that I am today. So my career has been characterized always by change and transformation. And this experience have enriched me and shaped me into what I am today as a professional. So first and foremost, I want to convey an important message that I would have appreciated early on in my career. And is this one. Yes, you can have a successful career in IT without necessarily being on the technical side. There are a lot of different roles out there within the IT field. From an academic standpoint, I'm an agri-food engineer from the Polytechnical University of Madrid. Although I have an engineering framework mindset, this is not precisely an IT-related discipline. However, my passion for an international career, engaging in exciting projects and innovative endeavors, led me to pursue an international MBA in Madrid. And this was a transformative decision. When I completed my MBA, this was the beginning of the ERP's enterprise resource planning industry, with SAP, Oracle, PeopleSoft leading the market. So in 1998, I entered the ERP sector with PeopleSoft. That was my first company. Later, PeopleSoft became Oracle, as you all know. So in PeopleSoft, I had the opportunity to travel to receive extensive training, California and other parts of the world, and gain experience in ERP implementations. So my role was mostly a business analyst and a functional consultant, working on capturing clients' business requirements and collaborating with technology or technical teams to configure and develop ERP solutions to align with our clients' business processes. So later on, I transitioned to the field of IT consulting, the field in which I discovered my professional calling, and where I still consider myself a consultant at heart. IT consulting introduced me to a diverse range of challenges, problems to solve, opportunities for developing innovative solutions, all while gaining a deep understanding of the implications of digital transformation for companies and organizations. A pivotal point in my career was when I specialized in IT consulting for the public sector, for governments. I joined Deutsche Telekom, specifically Test Systems, the IT service company of the Deutsche Telekom group. And during this period, I specialized in applying IT to governments. This was a time of where we talked about information society, e-government, modernization of public administrations, which I found a very fascinating topic. So my work there focused on integrating technology and IT services into business processes to create more efficient, more streamlined, cost-effective, and more resilient institutions. I was, again, on client-facing roles where I engaged with clients to understand their challenges, their pain points, and their needs, and to create or come up with a value proposition to address those needs. I noticed that in these client interactions, the conversation didn't typically initiate with the IT departments. Most of the times it started with a focus on the business or government officials. And my MBA skills here had equipped me well to understand the business challenges. So the ability to bridge the gap between business and technology was a critical competence that I continue to develop and eventually propel me to move on or to get into business development roles. So I grew, progressing into account management positions. This transition meant moving from project development to client management, being accountable for delivering services to clients, etc. In the consulting domain, this typically involves managing teams, proposal elaboration, providing oversight, and focus on growth and scalability. I really enjoyed this collaborative environment and working in multidisciplinary teams and in gaining insights from subject matter experts who were proficient in certain technologies, but not necessarily in selling solution to the client or highlighting the business benefits, which was kind of one of my strengths. So 208, the company I was working for, it's called Everest, now is part of the Entity Data Group, the Japanese group, offered me an expatriate assignment to Mexico, from Madrid to Mexico, to create the public sector practice for Everest Mexico. I was going to go initially for 1 year, but I ended up spending 3 years in Mexico. As you can imagine, this period provided me with great opportunities to manage teams, to take ownership of a business segment, assuming responsibilities on profit and loss, and engage with clients across multiple sectors. I mean, it was a fascinating time, and it was in Mexico where I became more familiar with multilateral organizations or international finance institutions. I'm talking about Inter-American Development Bank, the World Bank, United Nations, etc. So after three years living in Mexico, I transitioned to Washington, D.C. As part of the Inception team to initiate operations from my former company, Everest, and initiate operations in the United States as Everest USA. So this was a thrilling time for me, and I assumed the responsibility to develop the multilateral or international finance institutions market segment. It was a very intense period, as you can imagine, learning and growth and engaging in very cool things. After several years, very intense years, the time came to me to slow down, as I wanted to have more control over my schedule, and I wanted to start my own family. And I decided to start my own company. I envisioned a company, a consulting firm, to help foreign companies break into the North American market through the multilateral organizations. And in this period, I had the opportunity to work with still very technology-oriented companies. I had the opportunity to work with Telefonica Digital Education Services, for example, was one of my clients. And we developed what we call 6-7 years ago, massive open online courses. I didn't know anything about online training and massive open online courses, but this experience, enriched me and allowed me to learn a lot about MOOC platforms, digital content creation for training purposes, data management related to online training. So I did this. After several years as a business owner, I felt the call to return to the corporate world again, and I decided to join Capital One. Capital One is an American bank. It also has presence in the UK. It's a bank that defines itself as a technology company that happens to do banking. And I love this, although I had no experience whatsoever in the banking industry. But I joined as a program manager, focusing on executing projects in commercial banking, specifically in the realm of risk management. So this was a great experience, very valuable. But I eventually recognized that I was not fully leveraging my potential, and I missed being more closely, involved in technology-related work. So moving on, I had the opportunity to join the United Nations. So at the International Computing Center, where I work today, I was able to return to the technology sphere, serving as a trusted advisory capacity for digital transformation. And I became an international civil servant with the mission to supporting UN agencies and international finance institutions here in Washington. So today, as a senior business relationship manager, I manage a portfolio of partners in Washington, D.C. When I say partners, is UN agencies in Washington, D.C. and Canada. UNICC is an IT trusted advisory partner for the UN system. And we are an UN organization headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, and have offices in New York, in Valencia, Spain, Brindisi, Italy, and soon in India. We offer a wide range of IT services, from infrastructure to application development, to cloud computing, to data management, cybersecurity, etc. So with this kind of journey in mind that I have shared with you, I guess I would like to conclude my intervention with some reflections, some lessons learned, and maybe a piece of advice if that helps. So first, it took me some time to realize that that you can have a profound impact in the IT sector by performing non-technical roles. There is a lot of things and different good stuff that you can do, not holding a position on the technical side specifically. It is important to maintain a vision of where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years, and make a plan towards that goal or goals. Third, I believe that lifelong learning is the cornerstone of our sector. So the pace of change is really high, requiring us to continually refresh our knowledge and maintain a willingness to learn. So this can be achieved through formal training courses, returning to college, as we just saw, on-the-job training, attending conferences, pursuing online certificates, etc. Information technology has evolved into a vast field encompassing a lot of different disciplines: infrastructure, architecture, coding, cloud technologies, cybersecurity, data, artificial intelligence now, and many more. So each one of these disciplines has its unique path for growth and development. If you ask me about how to progress in cybersecurity, I have no idea. It's very different disciplines, and very complex and sophisticated in the world of technology today. Another one that I would highlight is don't underestimate the importance of soft skills. While certifications are important in specific technical areas, probably earlier in your career, there comes a point where other skills may be the key to advancing your career forward. And last but not least, remember, your career doesn't have to follow a linear path. Mine didn't at all. It is entirely acceptable to explore different ways and make decisions based on what is best for you at a certain point in your life. The capacity to reinvent yourself is actually a very highly valuable skill today. And it's also very fun and very fulfilling, talking from first-hand experience. So I guess this is my story. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I just want to check if there's any questions at all for Alana at all in our audience at the moment. Yes, sure. I'll repeat it. Yeah, no worries.
Please.
Okay, so you're asking sort of a non-technical kind of ways of getting into IT. Yeah. So Alana, do you have any ideas of you mentioned soft skills. What kind of non-technical avenues are there into IT? And to start, I know that you've been in very senior positions, but like a starting point, what would you recommend? Would it be something like cybersecurity, for instance? Would it be something like our technologies? I guess that might involve a certain amount of skill sets.
I mean, in my personal opinion, it all comes down to your passion. What do you like to do? What do you want to learn more about? And go for it. I mean, non-technical, in my case, for example, non-technical roles meant functional consultant. Project management is another non-technical role. Sales is non-technical, but it requires a lot of collaboration with technical teams to put into value technology solution. So a combination of what is your passion, what are you passionate about, and what is your background, your strengths, or your competencies, or even your interpersonal skills as a soft skill help you, pursue or start a career in IT. Yeah, I'm an agri-food engineer. Imagine, nothing related to IT at that time. And I had the opportunity to, in my MBA, to learn more about the ERP sector. And I was super excited with the idea to help standardize business processes in organizations and help, with technology, introduce more efficiency and streamline the organization.
That does help, doesn't it? Certainly, in different management roles as well, knowing all those processes, something a bit more efficient. That's that help a little bit. Okay. I just want to see, because there's a chat message, but I don't think it's a question. Right, yes, it's a chat. Oh, that's nice. Okay, right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alana. It's been really great having you from the UN. I can't believe I'm speaking to someone from the UN. It's just like awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
And I really appreciate you stepping in after the changes that we've made, and I think you explaining about your career history and all the things that you've done. It's just so inspiring, and it makes you really think about, oh, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could do that. It just gives you so much avenue, and it's good to know that in the UN there's a wonderful lady like you working there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. If you just hold on at the end, there may be some questions at the very end, hopefully, if we have any. But we're going to move on to the next person. So Alana, thank you so much. Would you like to clap for Alana, please?
I will definitely stay around.
Thank you so much. That's lovely. Thank you. So,
I think that is.
yeah. Right.
I'll take care.
Yes, lovely. So we are going to Henrika. Now, Henrika, if you want to just start talking to me for a minute, I just wondered, we're hoping that Agina, we could possibly introduce women in tech, but I think if Sam can enable that. Yes. I'll start with, I'll get going because we're running a little bit late. So if we go to panelist one, that's Henrika. Henrika, can you just make sure you've got your video up for me, please.
Well, I'm trying to do that, but
Oh,
I
right.
get the message that the host has that enabled.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great.
When and joining.
Is it worth having, because our panelists may want to talk together. Hello, Henrika, how are you doing?
I'm
How are you
good.
doing?
I'm good. Thank
Can they
you.
see me as well? Oops.
Here you go. Might be able
Yeah.
to even.
Because I know Henrika and
We can do
Caroline,
this for each of us.
Selena, they're all kind of part of the panel. And you might want to kind of say a few words about each, and then perhaps what we can do is move from one person to another. We could do it that way if you like. But I will let you do your introductions and tell us about yourselves, and then maybe we can rotate. So if I could start with Henrika. Henrika, hi, I'm Shanice, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, Henrika is a country manager at Devo team. She's actually joining us from the Netherlands at the moment. She is going to be talking again about her career journey. And it's amazing that you're joining us from the Netherlands. It's lovely to have you. So if I can get you just to introduce yourself as well and tell us about what you do in your work, that would be amazing. I'll just be here for you so I can keep moving from one person to the next, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Sure. No, that's perfect. So my name is Hendrika. I'm indeed the country manager for G-Cloud within Devo team in the Netherlands, which basically means that I'm responsible as a country manager for all the business we do with Google here in the Netherlands. So I basically run my own team, including marketing, finance, well, every aspect of the business, actually, also engineering, the delivery team, sales. So I have a full-blown P&L responsibility for that. I've been in IT for over 23 years. Gosh, makes me feel old. I'm just 40, but so I kind of started really young. But spent my whole life in IT, which was really exciting. Had my own company for the first 10 years, sold my company, and then moved into more corporate life. Joined VMware, then Nutanix, and then there was Devo team. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much. And then if I could get Caroline. Caroline is from Google, which is amazing. Hi, Caroline. So lovely to have you. She's a director of global site strategy at Google. Caroline, I listened to a podcast that you did with, I don't know, and I was just so interested. And I said, could you please help me from the women in tech point of view, because we're doing a women in IT event, and because I listened to what you were saying. So thank you so much for joining. Can you tell us about your role briefly and the kinds of things that you do?
Yes, hi everyone. Lovely to see you all. It's a pleasure to be here. I feel like I'm amongst friends already. And with Elena and Enrica's experience, I think there's some great conversations ahead. So I manage currently a team of program managers and what we call our site strategy team, which is a global team that supports all of Google's sites around the world. So that could be anything from ensuring a site has a good growth plan from a business perspective, to ensuring that the employees are having a great experience working in that site, to working with whatever could be a technology outreach to universities to help bring more tech talent into the company. So many, many different aspects of projects and programs across our global footprint. And I've been with Google for 20 years now, so feeling a little bit old as well myself. But I don't come from a tech background as such. So I think I have learned the tech ropes through those 20 years in various different ways, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm joining from Ireland.
Thank you so much. And then, Reza, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Is it Reza? Is that right? Reza from your...
Yes, in Dutch we say Reza, but yeah. I'm also okay with Reza. It's fine.
Reza, thank you. And you're a technical specialist and you work for Microsoft in the data security side of things. So that's
Yes.
really important at the moment, isn't it? What with all the cybersecurity issues that we get around the world. So can you tell us about what you do at Microsoft and how you entered the industry briefly? And
Yes.
I'm coming around again to ask you more questions.
Yeah, sure. So I started in cybersecurity 10 years ago. And I remember when I started with cybersecurity that a lot of people asked me, what are you going to do? Security, what is that? Are people interested in that? And yeah, nowadays, if you say I'm in cybersecurity, then everybody calls you, do you want to work for me as well? But at Microsoft, I'm a technical specialist for data security, which means that I help our customers in understanding our data security portfolio. I give presentations, I do product demos, and take away technical blockers for our customers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And moving on to, is it Lisa? Sorry, Celine. And Celine, you are a senior lead at WW Code Mobile Digital. And if you could just introduce yourself a little bit briefly and how you entered the industry briefly as well, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hello, everybody. My name is Salan. I'm joining from Turkey. I'm an Android developer in a Turkish bank, and also I'm a senior lead at Women Who Code mobile team. I am leading the Android study club track there. And also I'm a Women in Tech Netherlands volunteer, and I am the director of digital education and literacy there. I am responsible for this year Role Model Masterclass series. And other than that, I am a computer engineering graduate. I graduated 2.5 years ago. And before that,
I had a long time ago, was it?
yeah, definitely. But I was working for my startup when I was in college for 2.5 years. And after that, like I did a couple of internships, and before I graduated, I started working for part-time. And after I graduated, I moved to like mobile development side. Before that, I was on the backend development and front-end development, like full stack development. But after I graduated, I moved to the mobile development side, and I am like currently actively developing mobile applications right now.
Fantastic, thank you. So I just want to ask some specific questions, and please, audience here and also online, put your questions up so we can make sure that you get your kind of thoughts and ideas and anything you want to know. So I just want to ask you all just to explain to me the kind of training that you went through, if any, before you in your career journeys, and what you found in that training useful to get to where you are at the moment, if any at all. If you did find actually the training wasn't something that got to where you are and the success that you are at the moment, then if you could say what made you a very, and I see you're very successful, so already I'm ticking that box. So if you can explain to me about that would be amazing. So if I go back to Henrika, please.
Yes, definitely. So I kind of always knew that I wanted to go into IT. So I did an MBO IT education here in the Netherlands, and then basically I started my entrepreneurial journey. But I also did commercial economics after that, part-time, also in the evenings, actually for 4 years. I think one of the biggest things that has really been a game changer in my career over, well, I think the last, I was going to say a couple of years, but I think throughout my whole career, was actually the fact that I'm constantly investing in my personal development. So defining these areas where I want to develop myself, where I want to grow myself, and then finding the right opportunities to actually make the development and growth. And I think that constant cycle of learning has been a true game changer for me and for successfully building my career.
That's great. Thank you so much. And again, same question to Caroline.
Hi, yeah, scribbling some notes here. I think, you know, like I explained, my background isn't a technical background, but yet I've worked in tech for 20 years. And so I would describe my training as a mix, right, of technical and non-technical. If I think of the non-technical, so back in college, you know, I studied a master's level degree in business and sociology. I was curious about the business side of things, and I really enjoyed the sociology side of things. And after that, I considered becoming a lawyer. and went and did a postgrad in law. At that
Wow,
point,
so that's
though, I
really
decided I wanted.
diverse, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think, you know, at
Yeah.
20, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I enjoyed studying and enjoyed learning, and I just wanted to explore different things. And so I was sort of following my interests and passions, like Elena mentioned earlier. But from there, then I decided I wanted to enter the corporate world. I wanted to start working. I felt like I'd studied. I wanted to put the studies to use. And so my experience in customer service from being a teenager, from being a student, was something I enjoyed. And I actually saw a role that was in Google at the time. And 20 years ago, you know, it was a different company, much smaller company, and it was starting to set up its operations in Ireland. So I entered sort of in this customer and advertiser support side of the business, helping advertisers come online pretty much for the first time, helping people set up their businesses online. Again, 20 years ago, it was kind of a new thing to be doing. And so I had to learn very much from a hands-on perspective, all about the product, the back-end systems, how our, you know, customers were interacting with the technology. And I spent really the next sort of 10, 15 years of my career, I would say, deep in the hands-on learning and training space. And I went from that advertising support into fraud operations. So maybe some of the early days of cybersecurity in that regard. And then into finance, and then into sort of field operations with product installations out in the field. So I think to what was mentioned by Enrique, it's like this willingness to be curious, this willingness to sort of roll up your sleeves and be hands-on in whatever it is that you're working on, and then complementing that with the sort of academic or the training aspect of it. And as I pivoted into leadership over time, I went and retrained from an academic perspective in executive coaching, organizational change, and that sort of brings me to where I am now.
And that's amazing that you took such a diverse route as in law, and then here, and law is about rules, isn't it? So like IT is about rules sometimes. They do complement.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why I didn't really like law, but it was just this opportunity to be in an ever-changing landscape. I think that's why I've enjoyed being in the tech space for so long. Yeah.
Thank you, Caroline, that's great. And same question to Risa, please. So this is about kind of training. If you did a postgrad, if you did just enter the industry as you are and did something completely different.
Yeah, so for me, actually, when I was in high school, I was always already super interested in all the technical courses, but at that point in time, it didn't really make me popular. And I was, being a young woman, I was a little bit like, do I want to do this, yes or no? And then I went 1 year to the United States. So I was super lucky that my parents allowed me to do that at the age of 16. And there I was able to take a lot of technical courses, and then I really enjoyed it. So I really found this is really my passion. So after that, I went to the Technical University in the Netherlands, and I studied technical innovation sciences, where I actually did a combination of social sciences and computer sciences. So my background is really in computer sciences. So for me, the step towards cybersecurity was in that sense easy, because I had all the foundation. But what I've learned throughout my career, also being, I've also been a talent community lead of one of the Microsoft partners for a couple of years, where I really built up the team. And there are a lot of training opportunities out there in the IT world. But the one training that doesn't exist yet is how to learn how to be motivated for something. And I think that is really important. Like once you feel like, hey, but this is really giving me energy, I'm really passionate about it. I think that if you found that, then the training will follow itself. Because if you like something and you start doing it, then you will also learn on the job how to do things. So I think that following your passion is more important than following the right course in that sense.
Very good advice, actually. Thank you so much. Thank you, Risa. And Celine, could you tell us about, you said you graduated only, 2.5 years ago. So what was your subject in?
Yes, I graduated from computer engineering, and when I was in college, I completed 2 boot camps. One of them is for Java development, and the second one is for Android development. And after graduation, actually, like before I had an experience with my startup and everything, I decided to take business courses, and I finished the Google Project Management course. And after that, also I took business management and strategic management courses from University of Luxembourg. Through online education. And also like for my current role, I was working as a Scrum Master additionally from my current role. Also, I got certificated for Agile and Scrum Coach in my current company. I can say that like I am trying to develop my business side and also the developer side either. So after graduation, I try to add the business with courses and everything.
They complement each other, don't they? Really lovely. So I just want to Anjana, hello, hi, how are you doing? She is amazing. She's organised the panel that we've got here, and she represents women in tech. And I just wonder, Anjana, can you talk about a little bit about what Women in Tech does? Because it is I'm part of it, and I just wondered if you could talk about it and how beneficial it is for us women to be part of it, and what benefits we might get from it. I know that there are some events, isn't there, that you can join, but there's a huge amount of other things going on, which is amazing because all the lovely people we've got on our panel today are global, you know, and that in itself says it's not just based in UK, and BCS is actually global as well. So it's kind of another organisation we could just join, and BCS has got BCS Women too, so we could join that too, and they do a huge amount of stuff as well. So if you could tell us about Women in Tech, that would be really good. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you, Jinu, for inviting me, and sorry for the technical problems because I couldn't.
No, it's probably on our side actually too.
That's always with online events. Hi everyone, let me first quickly introduce myself. So I'm Anjana, I live in Amsterdam and I work at PwC as a data analyst. I myself have a background in econometrics and data science, and next to my job, I'm also part of Women in Tech. I actually joined around COVID time because I felt just the need of community because you were always at home and I was only studying, so you didn't meet any people. But Women in Tech is a nonprofit organization, which is a world-leading organization actually for inclusion and diversity and equality in STEM. We're actually active globally in a lot of countries, mainly USA, Europe, Dubai, also now South Africa. And we're headquartered in Paris. That's actually where it all started. We try to create impact through building skills and confidence to set women up for success in their career in tech. Not necessarily everyone has a tech background, so don't be afraid if you also have affinity for it. I think it's a great platform to just connect with people and upskill yourself. I think Celine, I see you nodding. She is actually also part of Women in Tech, and she's leading one of the great initiatives, which is the master classes, where we try to upskill them, have them connected with role models. And I myself, for example, organized a high-tech tea with also a panel discussion focused on getting more entrepreneurs in the tech field. So it's very broad, and a great aspect of it as a volunteer too. You get the flexibility to just organize events based on your own interest, which I really like. So we also have the lunch and learns. And of course, a lot of them are online, so they're accessible for everyone, which is great. So yeah, that's a bit about Women in Tech. And I joined a bit later, but I think everyone has had their introduction round, if I'm not wrong, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I want to see if anybody in the audience, physically in the audience, has got questions, and we can maybe ask each member again, if that's okay. So
yeah,
is there any specific questions people want to ask in the audience? Right. Okay. Oh yes, thank you, David. Thanks.
What are the
Fantastic question. Yes.
into a career?
Hurdles
Yeah,
they've managed to get through. Yeah.
yeah.
That sounds good. Okay, so David Shepard, he's I don't know if you were with us at the beginning, but he's from Hays Recruitment, and he wanted to know what hurdles you've come and how you got over those hurdles. So we really want to know, kind of, to give people strategies out there, to women out there who might have come across those, and perhaps you could incite them on those. And if you haven't had any hurdles at all, then don't worry, but I'll ask each one of you for maybe one thing that you can help us with. So if I go back to Henrika again, that would be great.
Yes, so I think I've had like a load of hurdles, because I think we all have hurdles in life and in our career. But I think if I have to pick one of the things that I ran into quite early in my career was the fact that I had, well, these male colleagues who were in the same role as I was, but I get actually substantially paid less. And I think one of the things that really helped me is the fact that, right, you can take control of each situation, right? You can actually step up, because what I did was call my manager. I said, hey, listen up, this is what I found out. What are we going to do about this? Right. So I really feel that whatever hurdle we run into, we always have the ability and the power to take control over that, right? We can always turn that around. We can figure out what we're going to do about that and how we're going to handle that.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. That's lovely. Thank you. And Caroline, can you help us with this one at all?
Yeah, sure. I think of one of the main hurdles I had in my career was more like a progression hurdle, where I was ready to just move to the next level, right? So we all think about promotion from time to time in our careers. And I would say promotions sort of came a bit easier when I was younger in my career and more junior in my career, and they get harder as you progress up because opportunities might be less. And so I reached a point where felt I was doing all the right things, feedback was there, but there was no space, right? There was no space in the team and in the organization I was in. And I had been there for 8 years. I felt like I had deep specialization in that space. And I had to make a decision, like to Enrica's point, I had to decide, like, okay, how am I going to take control of this? So I started to look up and out and around of where else can my skills be valued? And where is there opportunity for me to grow that may not exist where I am today? And finally, the question of what's the work I want to do or I'm willing to do to get there? So I could sort of have the conversations in my current space, see what was open, and then start to look up and out. And some of it was waiting for the right role to come along, exploratory conversations with other organizations, thinking about the type of work I could transfer my skills to. And I found a subsequent opportunity and felt like I could be rewarded and got the promotion that way after a while. So yeah, that's an example from my career.
Yeah, that's great, Caroline. And Henrika, I got your message. Thank you. That's no problem at all. Thank you so much. So if I could ask this, thank you so much. I just want to clap for Henrika before she goes, because she's been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I've got the same question for Risa, if that's okay. So that would be any hurdles you've come.
Yeah, sure. I think that, one of the biggest hurdles that's been throughout my career actually already started in high school, where people were reacting like, hey, but technology is more for men instead of for female. And I've kind of like brought that into my career in the beginning as well. Like in the beginning, I felt super insecure. Then I was in a meeting room, and then all of the people were talking about a certain set of technology, and then I didn't like fully understand it. But in the beginning, I was a little bit afraid to start asking questions. And then after the meetings, I started to realize that if I then raised the question to one of my male co-workers, then he said, yeah, I actually also don't know about it. And then I found out like, oh, maybe asking the questions is actually a good thing. And then I started doing that more and more. But I still, also throughout my career, like I grew very fast, also compared to my male co-workers. And I also worked at a company at that time that actually wanted to have more females also to the top. So sometimes I also felt like, oh, did I now get this promotion because I deserved it or because they also wanted to upgrade a female? So I think that, yeah, one of the biggest hurdles is maybe the battle with myself trusting that I can also be good at what I do, and to trust that if I have a question about it, that it's okay to ask, and that probably other people in the room also have that question. So yeah, I think that, yeah, one of the biggest hurdles is don't be silent and really speak up if something is not clear.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Celine, can I ask you the same question?
Yes, thank you. I think like one of the hurtful things I encountered was my startup failing because when I was starting at that journey, I was thinking like I will be so successful in the end, and when I graduated, I will do my own job. So when we like started to drop off, I really felt bad, so bad, and after that, I really try to see this as an experience and try to see this as an opportunity to learn. I think like every failure we had in our lives is really an opportunity to learn about ourselves, and also like
you have to turn it around, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I decided to show this like one of my greatest thing I do in the past, because like I experienced a lot of things, like not just like developing sites and also marketing and also like selling and all the stuff. So I decided to look at it that way, and I can say that like yes, we all, I think, like encountered a lot of hurtful things in life, but I think it is the really important thing in here to just like look at it in a different way and just like count it as a blessing, not a breaking.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely an opportunity. Right then, so what I want to do now is try and see if we could open up, because I know Elena, you're here as well with us, and Joanna. So I want to try and, because it's is it 8:15 now? And so actually I've got some questions I've got to check actually before I do that bit. Okay, so I've got one here. So perhaps I will ask these questions, which are online, I just put it to one of you. So perhaps, Ilana, if I can put this one to yourself, and that is a question from Adiki. And it says, have you ever experienced any challenges as a woman in IT in industry yourself? I know we've just asked that question, but what's one of your challenges?
For me, the question?
Yeah, if you've had any. If you haven't, don't worry.
Yeah, sure, of course. So challenges, well, it's related to the previous question about hurdles, right? I would say one of the main challenges is how to juggle personal and professional life, especially family, when you have a, you know,
okay, juggling act.
That's very, very hard. And but I mean, what can I say? No, in my career, I actually made the conscious decision and even the sacrifice, if I can use this word, of stepping down from IT consulting that I loved and I was passionate about, and start my own thing, just because I wanted to have more control over my schedule and my time to take care of my son at that time. So that was a challenge. I overcame that challenge by reinventing myself. When I would look back, it was a great decision. I mean, it worked out very well because I learned other skills, and it was a fascinating, time. And I got what I wanted, is to have more control over my schedule and my life.
That's great. Thank you so much, Lana. Thank you. And yeah, being a mum, working in IT, working long hours, it's just something we do, but it does affect everything, doesn't it? So I wonder, and Joanna, can I ask you for help on this question, if you can help? And the question is, are there volunteering roles for us as women who are venturing into tech? So that we can have a career framework whilst looking for tech roles and upskilling? It's a really good question, isn't it? That's from Jen Solo. I don't know if you can help with that one.
Of course, I think
thank you so much.
Of the Women in Tech frame, I've just been active. I think Celine can answer this question the best. Celine, if you could put it up.
Oh yes, I'll certainly read that again. So are there any volunteering roles, say you could do remotely, for instance, for us as women who are venturing into tech, so that we can have a career framework whilst looking for tech roles and upskilling?
Yeah, I can answer that.
Yeah.
I actually really benefit
Oh, fantastic.
from
Thank you.
and volunteer roles. And for the remote part, I am doing all of it from remotely because I am living in Turkey, but most of the programs I work with globally. So like Women Who Code are really great way to like volunteer, and also we have a lot of like technical tracks like front-end track, mobile track, like if you are into any specific tech track, so you can attend
mobile phone companies like Vodafone and things like that.
yeah, definitely you can attend their Slack channels, and you can easily like ask their fellows like how can I volunteer, and they can really like navigate you from there. And like Women in Tech also have a lot of opportunities, like just go where what the city you are lived in. I think Women in Tech is also there. You can reach out to them through LinkedIn, and also like ask them how can I get involved. I think this is really a great opportunity. I can say also Role Model Rebels community is really effective, and also doing a lot of workshops around AI. And if you are also into that, you can look into that organization too. They have master classes, free events, courses. So it is really like great space to also volunteer and attend their things and learn. I can answer that.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. And thank you so much as well for your help there. Right then, now I just wonder if you want to be more specific, if you want to ask one person in our panel or any of our panel a question, either in the audience or actually online, then just let me know. I think we've covered, Simon, I've covered everything, would you say, online for now, have I? Have I missed anything?
No, I think I can also ask some questions to the panelists.
Fantastic. Yes,
because
please.
I think it's very interesting. We have a lot of women who have different backgrounds. Even Caroline, you don't necessarily have a tech background, but you stepped into the tech industry. Maybe it's interesting for all of you to also describe maybe a significant turning point in your career that helped you shape your path in the tech industry. Maybe Caroline, you could start off with that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Like, I think, like I was mentioning a few moments ago, some of the roles I had early on in my career just required, right, for me to learn elements of the product, the systems, etc. But when I shifted into a finance role, it was because I had built specialization in our systems, right? So I didn't intend to work in finance. I probably would have hid away from it, except I felt like I was bringing specialization with me because of all the prior learning that I had done around what our customers needed, how they were using our systems, and how our systems and product worked. And that was a turning point for me because it brought a confidence that I didn't train for formally. I didn't potentially know that I had or could build. And I went on in that role to lead a very heavy technical multi-year program, working in close partnership with our product and engineering teams to build very complex global systems for the company. And so that was a real turning point for me, where I felt like the work of the past, sort of the hard work to learn, had been rewarded, I guess, from a confidence perspective, but also then I was able to apply it to very business critical projects.
And maybe a follow-up question on that, because I can imagine a lot of women that I also speak to who don't necessarily have a tech background, they feel a bit insecure stepping in that field. So how was that experience for you? And how do you keep yourself updated on the developments, technical?
Yeah, I think 2 points. So the experience was probably a bit of sort of naivety, right? In terms of like, I'm just doing the things that I think I'm good at and where I think I can add value, right? Mm-hmm. So what does the business need from me? What are the things that I can bring to that need? So it was maybe not naivety is the right word, but like just this sense of where can I contribute? And it was less about like, am I fully am I fully equipped or capable? It was like, I think I can do it. I have the confidence to do it, and the business has the need for me to do it. And there was many sort of signals and experience around that. But and then it depends on what you think about as being technical as well, right? You know, everything is touched by tech these days. It's very hard to find anything that isn't. So it depends on what, you know, your level of competency in the tech field is, and again, what the business level of need is, and how do you match the two? So am I going to go and become an engineer or an app developer? No. But I have other competencies to bring. And then how do I stay updated? Well, I think some of it's natural curiosity. So just understanding, again, what does the business or what does the field need? Where is it starting to go? What tends to be happening? And using my own natural curiosity to just inform myself, reading, setting myself some goals around what I'm willing to learn and how I'm willing to do that. And then putting myself where possible into those opportunities to learn. So my team are program managers right now, but they're starting to run a lot of AI related programming with our engineering team,
really
so that we can help
exciting,
educate the company.
So we're talking about how Oxford Brookes offers artificial intelligence, and that's kind of evolving. And Elena, you mentioned a lot about soft skills, and make sure you talk about your soft skills. And David, you talked about that as well. It's really important to promote that. Now then, I wonder if there's any other questions at the moment. I'm hoping we can maybe close our event at 8:30 rather than 9:30, so it enables people to relax until they go to bed. Otherwise, I'm leaving it very late. I was very ambitious with my timings, I think. So I just wondered if there's any questions either in the audience or online, you know, real pressing questions for our wonderful panel that you want to put to us at all, if there's anything at all. Yes, of course. And Jeff, I'll remember to ask you as well. Yes. 5-year plan. Oh, sorry, 3-year plan. Sorry. Yeah. They are changing, aren't they? They're becoming so, I mean, you know, AI is really taking off. And some people are like saying, oh, no, that won't happen. But it is, and you can't stop that. So you're thinking, how do you plan, say, 3 years in advance in your career? What kind of thought process? Oh, okay. That's really exciting. I don't know if David would like to. Oh, so yeah, I'll say the question. So the question is, you know, what would you in the next 3 years? How do you plan your career? And I don't know, David, you could say a few things. Just you come here and can you? Yeah, sorry, I'm just dragging you back in answer. You thought you could relax. I said that in my email, didn't I?
Yeah, I was really relaxed. I was just sitting back and enjoying it.
You're back on again. I just wondered if you could.
So, I mean, I don't actually know if I'm as qualified as the people here, to be fair, who have had first-hand experience of it, from a kind of industry point of view, but also from a gender perspective as well, which I appreciate has a part to play. I think, you know, you raise a really good point, the fact that things are changing at such a speed. It's really hard to kind of actually plan for what the next role for you might look like, because actually things might have changed. But what I will say is, through automation, that's happening across all roles, right? You take, you know, finance roles. In 5 years' time, a lot of standardized roles are going to be automated. A lot of administrative tasks are going to be automated. So I don't think this is just impacting tech. And as Caroline's point, you know, what doesn't tech touch in this day and age? And I think that has a part to play in career progressions and how you plan for it. So I think it's about, again, kind of echoing a lot of kind of what's been already mentioned, you know, following your passions, right? And letting your interest and your passion drive the direction of travel in your career, and seizing opportunities, and I guess not being afraid to kind of think outside the box a little bit and seize opportunities that don't appear immediately linear, because it's so funny how things have a way of kind of opening doors. And there have been so many examples of how people have kind of gone into a job, right? And actually that has then created another opportunity. And here they are all, you know, very, very successful in what they're doing, clearly really, really passionate and super impressive and amazing to hear everyone's stories. So I think these are, you know, just, you know, 5 or 6, you know, brilliant case studies, you know, that are real life instances of how people have navigated, more importantly, women have navigated their career through a really, really changing environment. And there's that amazing statistic that, or not statistic, but saying, I suppose, that never have things move so quickly and never will they move so slowly again. You know, the rate of change, the rate of technology is moving at such a speed that we have to just embrace it and run with it a little bit and see it as the fact that actually everyone's going to be on a level playing field. And, you know, jump 2 foot into it is why.
Thank you so much. That's David. Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to contribute towards that question at all? I'm happy. I know, Risa, you did say about passion, you know, and I remember when I had my interview, they said, oh, you're very passionate. You're passionate about that, you know, and that they do see that as a big thing, don't they? In an interview situation.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's really something where people are looking for it. So I've hired a lot of people in my career as well, and I always looked for that moment where the eyes started to sparkle, because that's the moment when I knew, okay, that person is very interested about this topic, and if that person didn't have a lot of experience, that can be given, but I can't teach somebody how to be motivated. What I said before as well. And also with regards to the question, if I look into what do I want to be 3 years from now, it is of course difficult to imagine already, like, what technology will I be working with? But it is easier to think about what type of role would you like to have. Would you want to be more in a leadership type of role? Do you want to be more in an analyst type of role, more on the architecting side of role? I guess, so what kind of role would you like to have? And then the technology is maybe not the most important part, because that will change. We know that for sure. And one of the things that actually helped me in my career, especially in my early career, is that I sometimes asked other people for perspectives about myself. And then I didn't ask the question like, what could I improve? But I asked the question, where do you see me in 3 years from now?
Yeah, oh, that's kind of a turnaround to what your quote was. Yeah, I've got a question. I don't know if Celine, you can help me with this. Oh, is there? Oh, Caroline. Oh, yes, Caroline, go for it. Sorry, Caroline.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Just a few times.
I
think I would just say, be less worried about the destination and just enjoy the journey, right? So I think 25 years ago, I wanted to be a firefighter, and that went nowhere, and it went in a totally different direction. But I've, like, you know, you might have a destination in mind. Does it really matter if you get there in the exact way that you imagine, or can you just enjoy the journey on the way?
Yeah, definitely. And I know Jeff haven't forgotten you yet. So the question was, actually, let's let Jeff, you say your question first, because that so please. Yeah. Absolutely, years and years. Yeah, Jeff is just saying you've got an enormous amount of years of experience between you all in the panel. So. Yes. Okay. Okay, yeah. Should we say? Yeah, should we say two characteristics from each person in the panel? Shall we go? Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Yeah. So the question from Jeff, he's one of our committee members, and he wants to know if you could just name 2 things, for instance, that would enable you to choose that company. What kind of characteristics you would say, be it a small company, big company, or it offers training, it's evolving in terms of open opportunities for women, and that's kind of prominent. You know, sometimes you get a woman women's group in companies as well, don't you? If you find out potentially at interview and so on. So if you could give us a couple of things each, perhaps, that you would say, these are the two things I would go for if I was choosing a company. So if I go around the other way, Diana, can I start with you?
Yeah, sure. Actually, when I started at before PwC, I used to work for an IT consulting company, but the working culture was not a fit for me, let me say it like that. Why I actually specifically chose for PwC were actually two things. First of all, I really liked how they invested in your career growth and your personal growth. So they actually give you a career coach where you have like a monthly check-in, and they really invest in you, like, okay, where do you see yourself in the next year, and what do you need to do to reach that? So that was the first thing that I really liked about the company. And secondly, when I visited the office, it's just a vibe that you get when you visit the office.
Feeling
I
you get, yeah.
Really like the colleagues, the work environment. So that was the second reason. You really should be comfortable within your company.
Fantastic, thank you. Thank you so much.
If I may, so it's kind of a family, right? You're there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Ilana, what about yourself?
Yeah.
And Jeff just mentioned, actually, you didn't hear, Jeff said, Ilana took a different route. She started her own company, which is it's amazing. It takes a lot of courage, doesn't it, to do something like that? So what makes you attracted, what two things attract you to a company?
So in my case, I would say I would highlight diversity in terms of
absolutely, yeah,
international, work with international people. I mean, people from all over the world. That was something that I loved from UN. I was working prior to UN. I was in Capital One, as I mentioned. American company, very, very American, actually. And it was, of course, in all these, policies of diversity and inclusion, but it was totally different. The diversity and inclusion that we talk about here in corporate America than what you can find in UN, working with people from all over the world. I mean, a meeting and you start talking to people from, India, Africa, Spain, Italy. I mean, I love that. I mean, I really
it's
love
that global feeling, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then I think Jana mentioned it as well, but I think it's absolutely key and critical to have a good work environment, a positive vibe, an environment that uplifts you and that gives you energy in working with people and working in teams. That is
positive vibes as well, isn't it? Yeah, and positive energy. Yeah, definitely. Celine, what about yourself?
Yeah, I can
things that attracted you to where you're working potentially now.
Yeah, actually, like for me, I was looking for the project. It was important for me, like what was the product, what are the, like for my current employer, like we are working as an online bank. For like application side, I just looked through like their applications and also like their UIs and everything. So it was important for me. And as Anjana said, like I think the vibes are really important, like the people who like interviewed you with and everything, because at the last round you are like going into an interview like with your teammates. I think that was really a great point either for me to choose my company.
Great, thank you. And then Risa, what about yourself? What two things? I know you recruit people, so you're kind of people are like looking to your company, thinking, oh, what's so good about this company? They're Microsoft.
Yeah. So at Microsoft, we really have the learn it all culture above know it all. So we hire for people that really want to learn instead of already know everything, because that's impossible.
So not coming with everything on the plate saying, I know all this. You're kind of
that's
saying,
really
no,
impossible.
We want to teach you this. That's really good for graduates, actually, because
exactly. Yeah. So I think that for me, the ability to learn together with others, I think it's really important, and that also means that the company also allows you to make mistakes and then learn from that mistakes and improve on it and grow in that area. What for me is also very important is the vibe. What is the vibe that you get from a company? Do you go home energized? And what is also very important
and do more stuff.
And the last thing that's super important for myself is also that the work-life balance can be good.
So we mentioned that about children. Yeah, Alana, you mentioned about how you're trying to balance the, having children and work and long hours.
Yeah. So it's also like at Microsoft that they trust you that if you work that you can plan your own agenda. So some people, they like to work in the evenings, other in the morning, but to really plan it according to what fits your family life. And I think that's super important because I love my job, but I love my family even more. So I really love it that I can plan it around it. Yeah.
Family comes first. Absolutely. Caroline, can I ask you the same question? Would that be all right? So 2 things maybe attracted you to Google potentially.
Yeah, I would think
such a huge company, my goodness.
Well, yeah, I mean, in Google, we have the 3 respects: respect the user, respect the opportunity, and respect each other. And I think that carries forward into everything we do.
Yeah.
And I think personally, I value companies that are innovative, regardless of what field or industry they're in. And I value the companies that are human-centered because they're either serving, customers at the end of the day, or they are employing people. And how do they think about designing their practices around those customers they serve or those people that they employ?
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you. I've got just one question. With Jeff, is that good? Yeah, got that one. Okay, we got that. Okay. I don't know who shall I ask this question. I wanted to ask Celine actually, because you graduated recently. So what advice would you give someone who has little work experience but is about to graduate? So they're just about to get their degree. It's that exciting feeling of getting that certificate. Like, I've done it.
Yeah, it was really stressful times. I remember that. So for the technical side, I can say that like you can do some projects. Yep. I think like when I entered like both of my jobs before and also for my internships, like they really valued all the like work I put it beforehand. Like I showed them my startup applications. We had like iOS mobile application and also Android mobile application. And I also did some projects and uploaded to GitHub and share them with the GitHub link. And also like walk them through like all the projects I done before. So I think they really value that. So I think it really helped me to get a job as a graduate. So I can recommend that because I also don't had like a lot of experience when I graduated, but like all the interview process, I just talked them through all the projects I done before and also all the internships and everything. I think the key is like doing an internship and also like doing a project is important.
Fantastic, thank you. I've got 2 questions I've got to read out, and I think after these 2 questions, if I may close our meeting, I know there'll be loads more questions, but if you do have questions, by the way, that we haven't covered in this session, do email. I don't know if Sam, are you here? If we could set up some sort of emails for people to email me directly, then I can answer that. I can put it to the panel where required. Yeah. Everyone chat. Put my email up there. You remember what it is, genius@hotmail.com. Lovely. So I'm going to just read out one question. I was going to ask Caroline this question, if I may, Caroline. Sorry to put you on the spot. What advice would you have for women looking to change career growth into IT?
Yeah, looking to change careers. So I've pivoted my career quite recently, but more into the people side of things. And I think how much do you understand about the area that you want to go into? So is there research you can do about what is that new space that you want to go into? What are the skills and capabilities required? What type of work would happen in that space? And then can you do a skills gap analysis? So what capabilities are you bringing in that may be complementary or additive to that new industry? And then where are the gaps? And so once you identify the gaps, then what do you need to do about it, right? Is it something that you could study for? Is it something you need hands-on experience for? Is it something that you might trial through volunteering, internships, starting, in a new role?
I forgot about internships actually for graduates. It's something that happens in the second year normally, where graduates can.
Yeah, so I think if you're pivoting your career, understanding what you're bringing with you, but what the new space requires, and then looking at what's the gap in between, would be my advice.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Caroline. I've got another question. Can I just... Oh, no, you're good. Just want to make sure I cover these questions for the guests. I wondered, David, if I could ask you this question. You might have to come over to me. Do you think the IT technology industry, gender pay gap still, do you think that the trend is changing now? You might have to come over here if that's okay. We'll try and keep these quite quick now, so I've got 2 more to go.
I'm going to make a real point to say that I am not best qualified to answer that question.
Okay, dokie, no problem. Thank you, David.
I put that back to the panel for first-hand experience, I think.
I don't know if Lana, you can help us with that one. Shall I read that to you again?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So, So do you think that this is from Adiki. Do you think the IT technology industry has a gender pay gap still? You think that there is a trend? I know, Ilana, that there's a lot going on generally, in companies where they're trying to look at salaries for women and men. And it's something that David touched on. Some people do ask for promotions, some people do ask for rises, and women tend not to so much. And I've heard that too. I listened to too many podcasts, I'm afraid. And it's definitely an issue. I don't know if you can add anything to that one, Ilana.
So what I can say is that in United Nations, the vacancies, the positions are quite standard. I mean, and are basically based on competencies and skill set. I would say that my experience is that there's no discrimination at the time in the hiring process. The vacancy has associated a salary, a remuneration, and it doesn't matter, the gender. But it's true that in United Nations, for example, in my organization, UNICC, we are trying to increase the new hires to have more women in the pipeline. I don't know how they handle that, but that's not an aspiration. But at the same time, the process is very standard to avoid any kind of discrimination. So it's a very difficult and challenging,
it is actually, that's real
at the moment.
It's going back in history as well, changing some of the things that have been going on in the past. So the next question I've got is, what advice would you have for women looking to change career growth into IT? And Joanna, can you help me with that? Are you still there? Sorry, I can't. She's dropped off. Oh, okay, sorry. Who can help me with that question? Lisa?
Yeah, maybe I can help with that question. There are actually a lot of companies that also do, for instance, kind of like traineeships, or that you first start with a boot camp of a couple of weeks, because in the tech industry, there are not enough people to fill the roles. So a lot of
David, you touched on that quite a bit, didn't you?
So a lot of tech companies are also finding new ways. How can I attract new talents? There are actually companies also completely specialized in that you get for instance, a 3-month training into IT, and then you start working for other companies, and that can really help you to make that switch towards IT, to work with a company that can offer you that
What is that
traineeship.
scheme called? Is that something that's in the Netherlands more than in UK, would you say? Or everyone can access?
I think it might be company dependent, really, where what are some companies doing to help build that capability within their companies?
Oh, it's just within the
Internship
company.
programs, apprenticeship programs, and then we call them bungee, where you will bungee into a role and receive the training, the experience in that role, and then determine whether you stay there or go back to what you were doing before. So it's a way to test and try and learn. So I think it might be company dependent, or at least in my experience.
Really
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, it is really company specific. And I think that in the past you had traineeships for people that just graduated, but now they are also there for people that already had, for instance, a job of 10 years and then want to switch to IT. So these opportunities exist.
Thank you so much. And I've forgotten your name, sorry.
Denisa.
Denisa,
It's just a small thing. Our work, like as STFC, is running a PhD conversion scheme in scientific departments. So you can apply if you have a PhD in almost all natural sciences, and then you can have a year where you test whether you like to work in different groups in the department, so you can actually find your passion. So you work like, I think, 5 or 6 groups.
That's right. The companies do that, don't they? And I think Caroline and Lucy, you mentioned this, so you can go around different departments and have a taster of each department and think, oh yeah, this sounds interesting. This sounds more interesting. I think I like that one. So it just gives you that nice feeling, doesn't it? So now I've just got one more question, and I'm going to end on this one, and that's from Jen. What strategies should career switchers take to get tech job roles? Who would like this one? I'm open on this. So I'd like to take this one up. I pick someone, Elena. Can you help me with this one?
Okay, so
what strategies should career switchers take to get?
So strategies for career switch. There are several strategies, several avenues. I have changed careers several times, actually. And depending on the situation, depending on the time, where I wanted to go, the strategy has been one or another. I have chosen training. When I wanted to start my own company, I went through a leadership training program, and that was very beneficial. I received coaching as part of that training program, and that helped me a lot to kind of have the empowerment that I needed at that time to pursue, the creation of my company. Another strategy I followed some point in my career was just do my homework and do an introspective exercise, just to really understand and go through my skills and my competencies, and understand what were the transferable skills that I could contribute to the new industry or to the new company I wanted to work for. So those are two strategies that I have followed. One was training. It was like really think through it and learn. I mean, more than learn, and identify what are the transferable skills that you can contribute.
Thank you so much. And I've got Hannah's put some very useful comments on here for us. She said, we have a placement scheme at IKEA where the IT students spend 10 weeks in each of the 5. It's the first year it's been running. But we hope to give the placement students an insight into the team they may want to specialize when they want to graduate. And I think that's great. So if any, I think one of the questions was related to this. This is a good place to go, IKEA. So there we go. So I want to really thank you for every single panel. David's here in person, and I just want to thank you to Sam as well for letting us have this space for women in IT, and also Simon for being there to support me through this process. And for you joining, Caroline joining from Ireland, and Celine and Larissa from Netherlands, and Eleanor from Washington. So it's just like amazing to have you all here. We've loved it. We absolutely loved having you. And this is the second one we've done. So I'm sure I'll get pressurized to do this next year. I think by the committee to do another one. So I really appreciate you being here. And I just want everybody to clap for our wonderful panel. Thank you very much. Thank you. And yeah, so if you've got any questions, we put a couple of emails up, David's email and my email. Yeah, do put your questions and I can route those emails to the right place. So thank you. And we're going to stop this event now and let you guys rest. Okay.
Okay, we will stop the recording.
That's it.